Welcome guys, my name is Matthias and today I'm going to show you how you can use the Google Maps API with Python. And specifically, we're going to work with Jupyter Notebook. Before we can get started, there are a couple of things we need to do before. First, you need to create a Google Cloud project. For that, you need to sign up on the Google Cloud platform. I think one of my fellow students did a great presentation for that, and the process is pretty straightforward. You just sign up as for any other platform. It's very well documented. Make sure that you will enable billing for the cloud project because it is required in order to use the API, even though you wouldn't be charged in the beginning for your project, for your small project. If you just want to try the API out and play around with it a little bit. And last but not least, in order to use the Google Maps API, as I will do in this tutorial, you need to enable 3 APIs in the API library. The first one, the geocoding, the second one, the Maps JavaScript API, and then the Directions API. After completing all the steps in the process, you will see this nice dashboard. Here your project shows. While registering, you will be asked to create your first project. I called it DAFA according to this course, and all your APIs will be listed. And once you will use them, your usage will be displayed here. Afterwards, head to the API library and look for your APIs that you want to use. We will need 3 today, so you can either search for them or go to the Maps category, which is listed first, and simply enable the 3 APIs I listed. Now we will need to create an API key. For that purpose, go to the Google Maps platform, find the credentials page, and on the credentials page, click on Create Credentials and select the API key. And after successfully creating the key, it will be displayed in a second on the credentials page under your keys. I will show you shortly how you can create the key and how your credentials page will look like. This is your Google Maps platform. In the Google Cloud platform, you will find the credentials page on the left by hitting credentials, and on the top of the screen, just click on create credentials and select the API key. It will be created instantly, and after successfully creating, you will see your API key and when it was created. The good thing about API keys is you can basically use them for any kind of application. So if you want to do anything else besides using the Google Maps API, you can still use the same key for other applications, which can be useful. Or if you want to separate that because you want to monitor them differently, or you want to keep things more organized, you can always create different keys. Because you can use the API key for any kind of Google application, it totally makes sense to restrict the use of the key to avoid having unauthorized users use your key for any kind of application. It also helps you to keep track of your projects and to monitor them. And this is especially recommended for commercial projects because remember, you link your billing to your account, so you don't want anyone that is not authorized to use your keys and basically charge your credit card for something that you don't want. So restrict your API key. In my case, I only need 3 APIs, so I choose These three, the geocoding, the Maps JavaScript API, and the Directions API. Restricting the API key is very straightforward. You just select the key that you want to restrict, and you can either specify application restrictions, which I don't need today, or you can specify API restrictions, which I did, and I selected the three APIs. After successfully restricting, you can double check this by looking at the credentials page and look at the key. And once you see the green checkbox in front of the API key, this means that this is restricted, and under the column restriction, it also shows which kind of restrictions you applied. Now we are done with everything in the Google Cloud Platform and are ready to use Google Maps API with the Jupyter Notebook. Please note that there are many ways to access this API. You can basically choose any kind of programming language besides Python, such as Postman or JavaScript. There are a lot of applications you can use. Today we are going to use Jupyter Notebook with Python, and we need one additional package that needs to be installed called Gmaps, and there are two ways you can install this package. One is using Conda, which is actually recommended and which I did and worked perfectly fine. Or you can choose to install it using pip. If you choose to use pip, please make sure that you have enabled the IPW widgets extension. Otherwise, it will not load in the Jupyter Notebook. This Jupyter Notebook, and we will be working on three use cases. The first use case is to create a simple map of a certain location, and our second use case is to receive directions from one location to the other, and in the end we will visualize earthquakes that happened during a specific period of time. So to get started, we need to import one library, the Gmaps library, which we previously installed. So let's do that. And afterwards, and at the beginning of each session where you want to work with the Gmaps API, you need to run this command to initialize the session. This is also the part where we finally need the API key we created in our Google Cloud account, and this is your personal API key. And I know this is probably not the best idea to publish this on a YouTube video, but don't worry, I already disabled the key by the time this video is uploaded. And now we are set up, and we can jump into the first use case, and we want to create a simple map, and we do this by just defining the center location and the zoom level. So first of all, I chose New York City, in my opinion, one of the coolest cities in the world, and I looked up these locations online and just put them in here, and we pass them on as the center to our gmaps.figure command, and in the end we can specify the zoom level. So let me show you what happens. Already displayed is this very simple but in my opinion impressive map by just running 2 lines of code. It shows New York City and basically has all the functions, or many functions, you know, from the original Google Maps application. We can zoom in and explore parts of Manhattan, and you can even click on some of the places to receive further information, or I think there's also a direct link to Google Maps. And a second place, some place that is probably closer to many of us, is the Campus West End. And I know probably many of you haven't been there in a long time, unfortunately. So let me remind you how our campus, how our beautiful campus looks like. And again, we can play around or switch to satellite mode to look at our very nice campus, which we hopefully all get to experience in person soon. I really hope that. And yeah, I think this would be a great or and simple application if you own a restaurant or want to display the location of your venue on your own website. I think this can be integrated very easily. Our second use case is to receive directions from one location to the other, probably one of the features that are most popular in Google Maps. At least I use this very often. And for this use case, I happen to forget how to get from the campus to my favorite falafel place. It's called Aroma and located in Frankfurt Nord End. So maybe Google Maps can help me to get there. And for that purpose, we need to pass in our locations. And the first one is the campus location and the second one from the restaurant. And afterwards, we again create this simple map. And now we want to add the directions layer to it. And we do this by running this command, and we need to specify the starting location and the endpoint and our mode of transportation. For this purpose, I chose walking, but you could also put in car, or I think you can also specify if you want to go by bike. There are a lot of possibilities, from Google Maps. And now we add this layer to the figure and display the figure. And as you can see here, here's our starting point, the campus, and this is the way Google Maps suggests how I can get to my falafel place. And yeah, we can again zoom in, and yeah, I would highly recommend this place to anyone who hasn't been there. Our last use case is concerned with earthquakes. We want to put them on a global map using a heat map. And for that purpose, we use one of the data sets that are provided in the GMaps package. And I think this is a great opportunity to work with these data sets in the beginning because they are already cleaned and easy to work with. So first of all, we need to load in the data set and take a quick look at what kind of data we are working with. And we see that in the first two columns, the coordinates are displayed, and the third column contains the magnitude, so how strong the earthquake was. Afterwards, we extract the locations from the data set and the magnitude as well, and store them in these variables. And again, we create a simple figure, and to this figure we add a layer, and this time we add the gmaps.heatmap layer, where we simply need to pass on the locations and the weights. And let's see what happens. We have this global map with all earthquakes that are contained in the data frame. And we already see that there was a lot of activity and strong earthquakes in California. I think the strong ones are visualized with a red, and there's also more activity in Alaska, in Hawaii. We see some earthquakes, and even some earthquakes in Iceland, probably due to volcanic activity. And I think the heat map function could also serve more purposes, such as maybe visualizing global COVID cases, which would be a very nice topic and very relevant at the moment. Or also wildfires would work great. Or if you want to visualize periods of drought, that could also work great with this function. In general, I really enjoyed working with the Google Maps API. I think it was easy to set up and quite straightforward. And using the Gmaps package with Jupyter Notebook was a great and easy way to apply some of the function. And I think with just a couple lines of codes, we already received some great results. And there's a great documentation to this package and the API in general. So this could be extended if you want to explore some more and difficult topics. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction into the topic, and thank you for your attention.